It's a great time to purchase a home because there are so many different down payment assistance and grant programs out there. Yes, that is true. I have not seen this much available funds just out there nationwide that can help people. But that's like the big message, right? Every lender out there is saying it, yes, and that's true on some degree. But here's what you need to know, because there's more to it. This is the truth that no one is going to tell you about these down payment assistance programs. So today, I'm going to give you the inside scoop, and that is, first, there are some myths that hold people back. And, those myths are that down payment assistance is only for lower income buyers. That's not necessarily true. There are so many down payment assistance programs that are available. Some are for lower income, some are for moderate income. So, and some have surprisingly higher income limits. And so just know that income can be a component of the eligibility, but again, it will all depend on the down payment or grant program that your lender is looking at for you. Also, there's this myth that when using down payment assistance, that it would make your offer on a home weaker. Well, there is some truth to that, but it doesn't mean that it can't get done. And so again, working with an experienced lender that can communicate with the listing agent, and working with an experienced buyer's lender that can help position your offer on that home. I think a lot of people think, well, that's a weaker buyer because they're using down payment assistance. I will tell you that we have buyers use down payment assistance even when they have their own down payment funds available. It just would depend. Does it make sense? What's their overall goal and strategy, etc.? So it doesn't necessarily mean that the buyer is weaker in any regard, but if that's the perception, there are ways to work through that, and a lot of it is just communication, both between the agent and the lender. All right. Second is, it's not always free money. And in fact, most cases, it is not free money. What do I mean by that? A lot of these down payment assistance programs are going to take second lien position on the title to your home, which is going to then require some type of repayment at some point in the future. Now, some of them say, hey, if you keep the loan for over 3 years, then maybe at that point it goes away. Sometimes it's 5 years, but there are rules. So for example, let's say you purchase the house and maybe it's that type of down payment assistance program that it goes away after 3 years. Well, what if you have to sell that home prior to 3 years? Then what happens? Well, in that case, the down payment would get repaid. The other option, or the other type of down payment program out there, is that instead of just going into lien position, maybe with no payment, it goes in lien position and there is a payment. So is interest accruing? Some of these have interest accruing, some of them don't. Like, just so many different variables that it's not black and white. It's not just one size fits all. There are literally thousands of different down payment assistance and grant programs across the country. All right, the third one is the myth that I hear often is, well, it has income limits and it has eligibility limits. On some level, yeah, that could be true, but the income limits will cap depending on the type of program that the lender is looking at. So you can have program A and maybe the income limit is $75,000. Well, program B in the same county or area could have an income limit of $100,000. The interest rate and terms are set by the program very often, so just kind of know that's another thing that's unique about down payment assistance programs. And with regard to eligibility, we actually have some grant programs that, depending on where the property is or depending on where the borrower has resided in the past, might create eligibility for a grant program. So again, when I tell you there are thousands, there are thousands. Okay. Not all lenders offer down payment assistance. This is very real, and I think this is a truth that so many buyers don't understand. So if you're talking to a lender, and maybe it's your bank, you're going to go in to deposit a check, you're talking to them about a home loan, and maybe you ask about down payment assistance, and they say, oh, we don't have down payment assistance programs. Just know that doesn't mean that they don't exist. It just means that that lender doesn't offer down payment assistance. All right. And the other thing is that you may still need to have some cash to close. Just because there's a grant or down payment assistance program that you would be eligible for and you've decided to utilize, it doesn't mean that it's going to cover all of your required funds to close. Remember that there's kind of two different components of what goes into your closing funds. One is going to be the down payment on the home loan program, and then the other one is going to be your closing cost to obtain the home loan. So together, those are closing funds. Well, if you're using a down payment assistance program, maybe it's just covering your down payment, but you still have to go into closing with your closing cost. Or maybe it's covering your down payment and some of your closing costs. Know that you can utilize a down payment assistance program in conjunction with a seller credit to help you with the closing cost, or maybe the funds that the down payment assistance program would not be covering. Okay. Also, you may have to take a home buyer education course. Again, every program is going to have a different rule on this. The courses are generally easy. You can do them online, but there is a step and a process to be eligible for the program. Many times it requires some type of home buyer education. And it's really not a bad deal. I think it's great because especially as a first-time home buyer, you're learning some of the backstory of home loans, how interest accrues, how the program works that you're obtaining, etc. So it's good, but it's important to know. And it's a great question to ask your lender. So if your lenders come back and talk to you about, hey, there's this down payment assistance program, ask, do I need to take a home buyer counseling or a home buyer course? Get that out of the way early on. That way, you're not down to closing and maybe the lender forgot to tell you, and then you're rushing while you're trying to close on the house. You're also rushing to take your home buyer class. So, and then higher interest rates or fees. I mean, there may be a higher interest rate for the program. There may not be. There may be additional fees. Again, it varies based on the program, but there's not one size fits all on these programs. And sometimes some of these very aggressive down payment assistance or home buyer grant programs, sometimes the interest rate could be below market just depending on where they are. There are some areas across the country that city or that county or that state is really wanting to help grow home ownership there. So in those cases, they might be supplementing the interest rate to help buyers buy in certain communities. What's important is to kind of decide where you think you want to buy and then work with a lender that knows that area, and then they can kind of dive into what down payment assistance is available in that particular area. And then lastly, I think, how do you find the best down payment assistance program? Well, first is talk to a lender that understands them because they are unique. They are not like any other home loan strategy for a variety of reasons, most of what I've covered here. But if you have additional questions and you're interested in purchasing a home, maybe you're a first-time home buyer and you don't know where to start, honestly, start with just a casual conversation. So you can call 480-725-0150. If that's with us, that'd be awesome. If it's not, if it's with another lender, start with a conversation. So that lender can start to hear your scenario and start to build out a strategy that can help you achieve home ownership.